So let's begin with this webinar, which is Internet of Things, the strategic side of IoT that we all know. As you're all aware, there are a lot of digital technologies that are changing the world. IoT is one of them. Before we start discussing about IoT, let us first try to understand what is digital disruption. I'm sure many of you must have already heard, read, and even discussed this with your friends. Digital India, digital disruption, digital technologies. So, what exactly is digital disruption? Let us first understand this in a few minutes, and then I will explain to you about Internet of Things. If we recollect our own lives, the way it has changed, about 20 years back, if we had to book a train ticket, those who remember, we had to go to the railway station probably a night back, book a ticket, and then come back with a very physical ticket in our hands. About 10 years back, we used the online version, the IRCTC. Today, we have a plethora of apps through which we can book our railway tickets. Life for us has changed. We have become digital. If we look from a banking perspective, about 20 years back, most of the banking was on a one-to-one basis. 10 years back, there was online banking. People just started. People are yet not comfortable with mobile banking. They don't consider it safe. But that's going to change. Banking is getting transformed. When refrigerators were launched by companies, a lot of people said that refrigerators will not work in India. Indians are used to fresh fruits, fresh vegetables. Technology, this kind of technology will not work. Probably refrigerators will be used only for storing cold water. But that changed. Some years back, people were saying, I don't think in India people will buy groceries online. But that is also changing. There is a lot of disruption that is happening in our personal lives. Can you imagine the kind of disruption that would be happening at an industry level, in the business, and not just the type of disruption, but also the pace of disruption? I'm just going to give you some examples of companies where disruption has taken place and it has changed the way business gets conducted. We all use Uber. In India, we have Ola. Uber is the world's largest taxi company, but it doesn't own a single taxi. Airbnb, the world's largest accommodation provider, but it doesn't own a single property. Skype, WeChat, even for example, WhatsApp calls. We make such calls, but all these companies, they do not have any kind of an infrastructure, no base stations, no radios, nothing. Yet they are allowing us to make calls. Alibaba Group, the world's most valuable retailer, doesn't own a single piece of inventory. Facebook, the most popular media content owner, yet it doesn't produce content. It is people like us who add content to Facebook. Society One, the world's fastest growing bank, they are not dealing in currency, they're dealing in digital currency. They don't have or they don't transact in actual money. Netflix, which is now the world's largest movie house, it doesn't own any cinema, it just streams movies. Amazon Prime is also doing that. Apple and Google, the platforms on which the largest number of apps and software is written, they are they are vendors of software, but they don't build apps for people or for consumers. Coming to the point, what I'm trying to say is, do you think any of these would have been possible about 10 to 15 years back? Absolutely no. It is possible only because the world is now very digital in nature. There is a digital disruption that has happened. Our personal lives have got digitally disrupted, but the business world has got even more digitally disrupted, not just by the scale of it, but also by the pace and the vastness of this disruption. I just wanted to highlight the aspect of disruption before we move to IoT. Going forward, the entire webinar, I'll be talking only about Internet of Things and how that is changing the world that we live in. We all use internet. We use internet to communicate with each other. So it's basically between people, or at the most, we used to use internet to maybe do some online shopping to transact. So between person to person or person to an intelligent machine. So the internet connected people. It was known as the internet of people, or at the most, the internet of people and intelligent machines. But IoT connects things. So it is called Internet of Things. Now the question to you is, the table on which you are sitting, the chair that on which you are sitting, the table that you're using, do you think all these things can be connected to the internet? If your answer is yes, then you have got the gist of the IoT right. When we talk about Internet of Things, we are talking about anything in this world that can be connected to the internet. Be it the chair, be it the table, be it my shirt, be it my trouser, be it my spectacles, be it my shoes, anything in this world, anything can be connected to the internet. And once that happens, it is going to be a huge network of connected things, which is going to be, or which is being regarded as the Internet of Things. What we are going to do now is to understand some of the aspects of this phenomenon called as Internet of Things. Remember, at the heart of IoT are devices or are systems called as sensors. Okay. Now, sensors are those things which can sense and which can communicate. I generally give this analogy of a small baby. A baby, when it is hungry or when it senses that it is hungry, what does it do? It cries. Why? Because if it doesn't cry, the mother won't know that the baby is hungry. Similarly, sensors that we use in IoT should not only have the capacity to sense something, but also to communicate whatever it has sensed to an intelligent software or an intelligent system which collects all of this data. Our mobile phone is a device which has multiple sensors as part of it. There is a proximity sensor. So when you're talking on a mobile phone, and at times when you take the phone in front of your face, you will see that your screen is now bright. But the moment you take it to your ears, the proximity sensor detects it and the screen goes dark. It is to save the power consumption of the mobile device. There is also a vibration sensor which is generally used for games, accelerometers. So you when you play your Subway Surfer or when you're playing your racing games, the moment you turn your phone left, right, up, down, the sensors can determine that, and they change the way the game proceeds based on the sensor inputs. There are different devices like the bulbs. There are some bulbs that Philips is manufacturing, which identifies the intensity of the light in the room, and it can then go bright or dark depending upon the intensity of the brightness in the room. So sensors have been used in multiple applications. Now this is only to give you the initial feel of what the sensors are. We will see some very important and interesting applications of these sensors in the next few minutes. Just one more thing, in India and across the world, there is a concept of connected cows. Cows, there are sensors that are attached to cows so that you can track the health of the cow. that so that it gives you good quality of milk and it gives you a good reproduction cycle. Connected cows is one of the most vastly and successful use cases of IoT in the field of agriculture. So by definition, IoT is a network of physical devices, vehicles, buildings, anything that enables these objects. So there are sensors which are embedded into objects. So sensor can be put in a shoe, a sensor can be put in a table, a sensor can be put in a shirt. So the sensors which go into these objects, they collect data. And this data is then sent to a cloud system where the data is sorted, massaged, analyzed. So cloud and analytics to create insights. Are you getting the picture? There are sensors which collect data. When you collect this data, you push it into the cloud. The cloud stores this data. The analytics system works on this data, creates meaningful insights that help in making better business decisions. Thus, IoT is a system, which starts with the sensors. Okay. If you see the diagram, there are sensors which are placed in the real world. So the IoT system starts with the sensors, collects the data, and then pushes it to an interactive system, which is a combination of complex software systems or algorithms. The data collected from the center goes to the initially the cloud system. From the cloud, it is fed into the analytics system. From the analytics, there are business decisions that can be taken, and then you come back and you try to control the real world. Now, let me give you a simple example. Let's say you are owning or you are working for an event and there is a conference that is happening. And a very simple use case is you want to control the temperature of the conference room at maybe 22 degrees Celsius. So what do? You put about 8 to 10 sensors, temperature sensors at different places in the conference room. These sensors then collect information about the temperature. Once this temperature data is collected, the sensors will push this temperature to the cloud system. In the cloud system, there is an algorithm. This algorithm will then compute the average temperature in the conference room, and probably the analytics will make a decision whether certain air conditioners temperature need to be pushed up or need to be pushed down. Once this decision is made, you have to again come back to the real world and using actuators, or rather actuators are nothing but opposite of sensors. You control the devices in the real world. So sensors are those devices which convert physical motion into electric energy, and actuators convert electric energy into physical motion. So sensors connect the real world to the interactive system, and actuators help you control the real world. An IoT project can be just a monitoring project where you have only sensors without the actuators. So your IoT project in this case could have been monitoring the temperature of the conference room, or the IoT project could be monitoring and controlling, where the use case would be monitoring and controlling the temperature of the conference room. So, but it all starts with the sensor. The point being, IoTs are required in an sensors are required in an IoT project, but an IoT project is incomplete without a cloud and then an analytics system. Because if you're collecting data, and you're not storing it, or you're not analyzing it, or you're not creating meaningful insights from that data, that IoT project is of no use. So IoT projects start with the sensor. That is why it is said, at the heart of IoT are sensors, but you need a cloud and an analytics system, and of course some mobile apps to complete the IoT project. So why do we care? The question comes, all these things are happening, but why should we care? We should care because there are many companies in this world who are investing billions and billions of dollars into this technology. If you are in India and you are reading newspapers or anywhere in the world, you will see the amount of ads Cisco puts in the newspapers, sponsoring digital India initiatives. And everywhere you will see that Cisco is very heavily into IoT equipment. They are making sure that they have geared up, they have invested, and they have made equipment that can help implement IoT use cases. IBM has a series of products, you know right from Watson and so on, and they have all the necessary software packages and tools specifically designed for IoT use cases. Google is one of the pioneers. They are ensuring that everybody is connected to the internet, because once you're connected to the internet, you are the one who are going to be generating data. They are also investing in Google driverless cars. They have bought they had bought a company called as Nest a couple of years back for home automation, where you could control your home devices using a mobile application. You have GE, which is investing into IoT based energy. So a lot of the energy equipment that GE manufactures is based on IoT, and they have their own analytics platform which is called Predix, that they use for analytics of these IoT, for the data that these IoT devices generate. And I've not talked about the Apples and a lot of such big companies of the world. The point here is, when these companies are investing so much of money into IoT, they will ensure that IoT becomes a reality for all of us. And when all of these companies together are doing their investment, there is absolutely no chance that IoT will not see the kind of, or will not achieve the kind of hype that it is being projected. So it's better. So for me, I definitely care, because somehow, whether I'm into business or whether I'm into job, IoT is going to come and change a lot of things. Not because it may be a great technology. Of course, it is a very good technology. It is a very good way of doing things, but also because the kind of money that has already got invested into Internet of Things. Let me give you a brief example of how IoT is causing disruption. We all know about Nike. Nike is a shoemaking company. With Nike, just imagine if you put sensors into the shoes. What is going to happen? A person who buys a Nike shoe, with the sensors, you will be able to track how much he walks, from where to where does he walk, what speed he walks, how much calories he may be burning. And all this information from the shoes goes into the cloud, gets analyzed, and through a mobile app or maybe even a watch, the person who has bought this shoe can see data about himself. Could you have imagined this a few years back? But today it is possible. Now, to think about it, is Nike now just a shoemaking company? Of course not. Nike is now also a company that is investing into healthcare of people. So it is also now getting into the application space of healthcare. It is giving you apps. It might soon give you services. If your calorie levels are not good, or if your blood pressure is not good, or whatever, it might even offer you services based on the data it has collected from you. So very soon, Nike will be an healthcare company. And when it becomes a healthcare company, it is not just competing with Reebok or Pumas, it is competing with the healthcare service, and it is competing in the healthcare service company, competing with the diagnostic agencies, competing with the hospitals, maybe competing even with the medical practitioners. So by including sensors in shoes, Nike has completely expanded the operation of its business from a shoemaking company to now also a healthcare services company. This is the kind of disruption that happens when you work with sensors. I will speak about a few more examples in this webinar in some time. But before that, The question we would like to answer is, okay, IoT is great. So many companies are investing in IoT. Why should I pay attention? There are few reasons that all of us need to pay attention to Internet of Things. One, the business models are changing or rather emerging. The Ubers and the Olas, the Oyos, Nike. So from being selling commodities, people are now trying to create services around the commodities that they sell. IoT is enabling companies like Nike to create services for which they can start charging their customers. So business models are changing, revenue models are changing. Entirely your business, if you are into business and you have not given a thought to how IoT can change the business that you operate in, very soon, you might get left behind by your competition. With IoT, there are new emerging technologies. There is no standardization in IoT. That is because people have invested money. Everybody is running their own show. When you have invested billions and billions of dollars, you do not want to accept standards that other companies set for you. So everybody is working on their own. Google is working on its own. IBM has its own platforms. GE has its own platforms. There are so many startups who are having their own platforms. So technologies are emerging. There is no standardization. Things are changing rapidly. So for me, I really have to be on top of my game. I have to be on my toes to understand how the IoT industry is evolving and changing. We saw with the example of Nike how Nike created a new kind of service and application. Similarly, most companies are going to create different and different kinds of services and application for which they will charge their customers. So for me, it is an area of opportunity, especially for the engineering world or the IT world. All these growing services and application will need people to build these services, to maintain these services, to further enhance these services. So services and applications in IoT are going to be an area of growth, especially for people who are seeking jobs. In the IT industry, IoT is giving the next growth because everybody is investing in building services and applications. It's not only just the Gs and the Googles, but it is also companies at the medium scale. For example, the companies like Bata in India, or for example, real estate developers, they are all investing in IoT. As a result of which, the IT industry, if they approach or if they create the right strategy, they will be able to grow themselves using IoT as a growth engine. And finally, multiple jobs will be created. The traditional jobs, of legacy SAP systems or legacy Oracle systems, legacy mainframes may not exist. But if you see with so many sensors, so much data being generated, there will definitely be jobs that will be created for managing the data, managing cloud systems, working on analytics, working on IoT solutions, IoT applications. So there will be a plethora of jobs that will get created in new different areas. Engineering students especially need to be aware of those areas that IoT will enhance job opportunities in. This is one of my favorite statements. I believe IoT is a coming together of two fields. One is of computer science, the world of cloud, the world of mobile apps, the world of analytics, and the other field is of electronics, sensors, embedded devices, things that are connected to the software world. Both of them combine to create one of the most impactful technological advances, which is known as the Internet of Things. If you want to work in the field of IoT, you cannot ignore any one of the two. Of course, you may not or you cannot be expert in both the things. You can probably be an expert in the cloud analytics mobile space, or you can be an expert in the electronics and the embedded design space. But you cannot afford to ignore the other side of IoT. For example, if you're working on sensors, if you really want to grow, you have to understand the cloud systems that the sensor will connect to, the analytics, how this data will finally be fed into the analytics. So when you design the sensor, you have to be totally aware of the software world where the data created by the sensor is finally going to reside in. Looking from the other side, if you're working on the cloud or you're working on the analytics, if you're not aware of the sensor design or of the electronic design which is generating the data, you will not be able to design the cloud and the analytics system appropriately. So of course, you may or may not be expert in both the areas, but you cannot afford to ignore or avoid the other side of the IoT world. You at least need to be having enough knowledge so that it helps you create a better system in the space that you work in. Let us look at some IoT predictions of what the world is saying so that we get a good idea of what kind of opportunities lie for us. Cisco says, that by 2020, which is about 3 to 4 years from now, there will be 50 billion connected devices, 50 billion connected devices. So there will be 50 billion objects in this real world, sensor enabled or IoT enabled, that will be generating data. So for a population of roughly 7.5 billion, we are talking about 6 to 7 connected devices per person. 50 billion may sound like an exaggeration, but I can tell you that if not 50 billion, we will definitely be 30 to 35 billion connected devices. The pace at which internet is growing, the pace at which companies are investing, we are not far that in 2020 we will have at least 30 to 35 billion connected devices. Can you imagine the amount of data that gets created when you are working with so many connected devices? The kind of analytics that will be required, the kind of applications that can be created using this data and analytics, all these. So sensors, when you get into the world of sensors, obviously you're going to get into a more digital world, but there will be enough opportunity for all the other things that sensor helps achieve. It is said that by 2020, apart from being a 50 billion connected devices, it will also be close to $50 billion industry. With so much investment, so much applications, so much services, people are going to invest and earn money from IoT. A $50 billion industry, startups, big companies, mid-sized companies, everybody investing in IoT. So it's a fair call that it becomes an industry that generates close to 50 billion in a few years from now. Let us look at some of the applications of Internet of Things. And I'm sure you'll be a little surprised or little amused with the kind of applications that IoT helps you create. Now this example is basically with respect to a big multinational FMCG company that sells ice cream across the world. They have a very famous brand to sell ice creams across the world. In countries like India and China, you know, the way we buy ice cream, we go to a normal mom and pop store, we open the cabinet, we pick our ice cream, and we pay money to the retailer or the storekeeper. This is how ice creams get sold. One of the problems that this company faced was mom and pop store owners many times used to switch off the ice cream cabinets in the night. Why? To save on electricity. In the night, they used to close, they used to switch off the cabinets. In the morning, when they opened the store, they used to switch it on again. So what happened to the ice cream? The ice cream melted in the night. In the morning, it again got formed. Now we know that if an ice cream goes through this process, it ends up becoming bad or defective. Many times, the owners or the store owners returned back these ice creams to this FMCG company, saying that the ice cream was inherently bad. The company had no option but to take back all these ice creams and face a loss of revenue and loss of inventory. They came up with a smart solution. They put some IoT sensors into the cabinet. Now, whenever this machine was switched off, an alarm was raised, the message was sent to the store owner as well as to the FMCG company. They knew very well whether it was a forced stoppage of the machine or it was uh, uh, due to the storekeeper himself closing the machine. So you could make that out through the difference in current levels that the sensor monitors. After this, whenever the storekeeper, if he has shut down purposefully his cabinet, and if he wanted to return the ice cream, the FMCG company flatly refused. So not only did they save on all these costs, the return cost, but they've played one game up. They had some weight sensors, some volume sensors, and they measured the amount of ice cream that was there in the cabinet. Whenever it went below a certain threshold, the ice cream distributors the distributors of the FMCG company call the retailers or the storekeepers and ask them, hey, do you know, we see that your stock has been going down. Do you want to get a refill? Thus, the IoT cabinets not only help the FMCG company save money, but it also helped them create additional sales. It is estimated that approximately 45 million USD per year was the bottom line impact of this one small change. The question now is, if you are going to fetch an additional 45 million in the bottom line, would you not invest a few $1 million to get this system running and implemented? The answer is yes. That is also one of the reasons why IoT is being taken up so vigorously by the industry. IoT is giving you a return on investment that can be captured and verified. So it is not like those technologies which is good to have. IoT is a technology that is not just good to have, but it is good to have because it is giving you a return on investment. This capacity of IoT to give you a very visible and measurable return on investment is one of the highlights of this technology. The next example is of a tire company in the US. They went to a completely different business model. Instead of selling tires to their customers, they started giving tires as a service. What does that mean? It means that if I wanted to change the tires of my car, I go to this company, but they don't sell me the tire. What they do, they give it to me on rent. So when I take these tires on rent, every month I get an invoice. Depending upon the sensors, the sensor calculates the revolutions and it comes up with an approximate distance covered by the tires. Depending upon the distance covered by a tire, I get a monthly invoice. If I go a longer distance, I get a higher monthly invoice. If I don't use my tires, I get a lower monthly invoice. The benefits are for both sides. As a consumer, we all know that if we own a sedan and we wanted to change all 4 to 5 tires of the sedan, the minimum expense would be close to a lakh rupees, which is a big capex. So from a consumer perspective, it definitely helps us that we pay a rent rather than the capex. From the company's perspective, what are the advantages? From the company's perspective, the biggest advantage is a continuous cash flow. For a company, there is nothing more valuable than predicting the cash flow into the organization. By selling tires as a service, this company has made sure that they have a better ability to predict their business, their cash flows, which helps them give better results to their stakeholders. There is one more thing that this company did, which was really amusing and surprising. They closed down some of their factories. Why? Because earlier they wanted to build tires, but they also wanted to they wanted to sell tires at a regular interval. So they were not making the best quality of tires that would run for 20, 15 years. But with sensors, they could get onto a business or a revenue model that is based on rent. They closed down some factories, they changed their operations, and they started creating stronger and durable tires that could last 15 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. They basically were building tires that would not get spoiled. So the advantages are many: lower cost, higher margins, going green, less wastage. So IoT is bringing a big change in all these industries. IoT is just not about industries, about a shoe industry or about automobiles or industry. It is ubiquitous. It is there everywhere. Your pets can be IoT enabled. We ourselves with biosensors, we can be IoT enabled. Agriculture, cows, crops can be IoT enabled. The home appliances can be controlled by mobile devices. They can be IoT enabled. Cameras, building management, water taps, elevators, all of these can be IoT enabled. Medicine, let me give you a very interesting example. In the West, medicine bottles, especially for the aged people, aged people forget when the medicine ends. And once the medicine ends, they tend to go 1, 2, or 3 days without the medicine. It can be a huge problem for really aged people who are suffering from some chronic diseases. So what is IoT solution? In this medicine bottle, you implement sensors that can track either the weight or the number or the volume. And once it goes below a certain threshold, a new order is placed for the same medicine so that the medicine can be delivered before the earlier medicine gets over. Can you imagine the kind of positive impact it has on parents and their children who are worried about their parents' health? People will definitely pay more, for such solutions. Smart cities, everyday things like our keys. There is a lock that is in the market which is IoT enabled. You can open that lock not with a key but with a mobile application. So with IoT, you can even open such things. IoT is going to change a lot of things in our day-to-day life, and businesses are definitely working towards it. So the question is, we all have heard about smart cities in India, globally. In India, there is a specific program called as Smart Cities Program and the Digital India Program. So what do we expect out of these cities, but in the next 4 to 5 years. In the next 4 to 5 years, when we enter these cities or the so-called smart cities, is there going to be a big change? The answer probably would be yes. The traffic lights, the parking systems, the hoardings, most of it is going to be run using digital technologies. And when you get into that era of digital technologies, sensors are going to be a big component of that word. Sensors that not only sense, but they collect the data and then they communicate it to the cloud system so that this data can be analyzed. So sensors are going to play an important role in the smart city phenomena that is occurring in India and throughout the world. So to conclude, the title of the presentation was IoT for business growth and job prospects. So from a business perspective, if you're a business owner or if you're an executive in a big business models are changing, revenue models are changing. We saw that with Nike, we saw that with a tire company, we saw that with the FMCG company. It is now easier to be more OPEX than CAPEX. So nobody invests in infrastructure. Nobody invests in data center. Everything is in the cloud. Business models are really changing. And IoT devices or IoT sensors allow you to use this entire digital world to create new applications and services. For example, the Nike example, healthcare services using shoes, the tire company, after they analyze how much kilometer a person is running, whether they can give him tools on efficiency, they can sell him insurance products. So you can have new set of services that bind with the product that you're selling. The more bandwidth that gets implemented in India and across the world, 4G, 5G, more and more IoT applications will start seeing the light of the day. From a jobs perspective, those who are job seekers, there will be totally new set of jobs that will replace the old one. The new set of jobs will require a mix of hardware and software expertise. We are already seeing demand for certain roles like a data scientist, somebody who knows how to work with analytic systems. We are seeing demand for roles like cloud specialist, somebody who can work with a large set of data. We are seeing demand for someone who is known as a full stack developer. It means someone who understands both the hardware world and the software world. So it is an era where you need to be specialized, but you also need to be specialized in a few things. You just cannot be a Java developer or a C++ developer and expect to survive in the world of digital technologies and in the world of Internet of Things. So again, from a business perspective, models are changing. Business owners, executives need to align themselves to the changing model across industries. Telecom is changing, banking is changing, insurance is changing, automobiles is changing. So very quickly, you have to understand this game of the changing industries and create services and applications along with the products that you sell. Job seekers need to quickly understand the areas which are going to be in vogue coming on and create their resume or create their skills in those areas. With that, I would just like to thank you for your time on this webinar. I wanted to keep it short. I wanted to keep it to the point with respect to Internet of Things. If you like the webinar, you can like it on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube. If you have any questions, you can send me an email or you can post me a query on my website, which is www.digitaldojo.in. Please feel free to contact me for anything, and I'll be happy to get back to you. Thanks for your time and attention. If there has been any problem with respect to this webinar, do let me know. I will try to make it a better webinar the next time I conduct it. Thanks a lot, everyone. And that's goodbye from Sachin Sadre and from Digital Dojo. Thanks a lot.